So welcome everybody. By the way, as you might have just heard, the recording is in process. If you don't want to appear on the recording, you might want to turn your video off. But if you want to leave it on, that's great too. We'll go to a different view here in a minute. So I want to introduce IONS first. I think we have quite a number of people that are new to our group. And so just so you know, this community group is just a non-attached community group of IONS, which is the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And the mission of the Institute of Noetic Sciences is to reveal the interconnected nature of reality through scientific exploration and personal discovery, creating a more compassionate, thriving, and sustainable world. So they do a lot of science basically down in Petaluma, California. Although I have heard that since COVID started, a lot of the scientists moved to doing their science from their home somehow. So that was interesting. And I guess they really like it too. So today we have speakers. We have two. They're longtime IONS members. And we have Georgena Eggleston along with Heather Mache. And Georgena has an MA. She's a trauma specialist and certified body-mind therapist for those who are touched by sudden loss, suicide, and deep grief. She is the author of A New Morning, Discovering the Gifts in Grief, the memoir of her journey through grief. She has created Reason to Live circles for those who have survived suicide attempts. Heather Mache is an impassioned healing artist and educator and ceremonial songstress who weaves a lyrical a cappella vocals throughout a wide array of ceremonies in a myriad of settings. Her Celtic style voice and meaning-filled song selections embrace the heart and stir the spirit of those gathering to honor life transitions. I'm so excited to hear you sing. Anyway, welcome everybody, and Georgena and Heather. And now I'm going to turn it over to you. And it's recording.
I just want to point out, Teresa, so that we are all clear from the beginning, we would love to have your questions. If you would put them in the chat. And then once we're done presenting, then we'll get to those questions and we'll have a Q&A at that point.
Good. And I might also say to everybody to please, if you're not already muted, please mute yourself now so that there's no distractions. Back to you.
Welcome to the circle. How far have you come? Do you need some company, a candle and a song? Are you feeling weary, tired of being strong? Welcome to this circle. It's a place where you belong. Do you have a burden that feels too much to bear? Do you have a bitterness you don't know how to share? And do you get too angry to breathe, to laugh, or pray? Well, there's no one in this circle who has never felt this way. So welcome to the circle, whatever brought you here. The valleys and the mountaintops, the muddy and the clear. And know your work is worthy, and know your heart is true. and know that all you give away will come circling back to you. It all comes circling back to you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on this beautiful spring day here in the Portland, Oregon metro area. To start us off, I would love to invite you to simply check in with yourself. Close your eyes if that helps you do that a little bit more readily. And write in the chat, once you come up with 1 to 3 words that describe your current inner state, not I-5 or I-84, but your current inner state, as well as a number between 1 and 10 that would indicate what your stress level is at this point, with 1 being, oh, life is great, no problem, and 10 being, I'm about to jump out of my pajamas. So if we can do that in the chat, again, just 1 to 3 words describing your current inner state, and then a number 1 to 10 for indicating what your stress level is right now.
So thank you so much to each of you who have shared. And we're here together, fairly peaceful, grateful. Stressful goes all the way from a low to of a 1, it looks like, and maybe moving up towards a 7. So that puts us as we are, people here today who've come together. And maybe many of you have heard the concept, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. It was first laid out in the Emerald Tablet of Hermes. Well, last month, during our Ions program, astrologer Karen Legacy shared the 2022 positions and purposes of the planets, where they were in the sky and what effect that they're having on all of us. That was the as above, so without, and the universe as aspect of Hermes concept. So today, Heather and I are exploring so below, bringing our attention to the earth, discovering in community what is within, allowing each of us a deeper alignment with our soul. And Heather, I can't thank you enough for bringing us into the circle with that song, because I felt myself moving down toward the earth, being very comforted by that music as the cells in my body began to relax. So as you all read, rational thought certainly will not guide us through our current states, ambiguity, uncertainty, and the unknown. So what's required is to get out of our head and tune into our body's wisdom. And I don't know about you, but sometimes it feels like I'm going so fast, there's no tuning in. I'm flying instead of tuning in. So for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to invite you to do some processes and then to share in the chat. Because some of you that were here with us earlier may have heard that we were intending to do breakout rooms. Well, now we're on to plan B. We're going to have you write down what your experience was in the chat and then share in the community. So I'm going to invite you right now to center your hips in the seat that you are in. It appears most of us are in chairs. Some people may be outside on a park bench, or you may be sitting on a couch. But in this moment, simply center your hips, anchoring them in the seat beneath you. And now, feeling the support of this seat, I invite you to rest. How often do we intentionally rest during our day? And as you rest, I invite you to take your attention to the back of the chair, noticing, in this moment, something's got my back. And so now I'm going to invite you to relax into this moment with awareness, because awareness is the first key to change, and change happens only in the present moment. And if you haven't already done so, I invite you to close your eyes or cast them down. And now taking your awareness to your feet. With curiosity, simply notice, how are your feet contacting the floor and the earth? You can't get this wrong. Just notice as you take your attention to your left foot. Is it bigger, heavier, longer than your right? Is it pushing down into the ground? Or is it barely hovering above the floor? And then take your attention over to your right foot. And what's happening there? Having done this with so many people, usually one foot is heavy and one foot is light. One foot feels very, very different from the other foot. So now in this moment, I invite you to come up on the toes of your right foot. And notice what it feels like in this moment to be on your toes. Oh, I'm sure you thought this was supposed to be a relaxing gathering, and here I am up on my toes. But simply notice. And now begin to move the heel of your right foot back and forth as if it is a windshield wiper. And notice what's happening in your toes, your foot, ankle, maybe even your calf and knee, thigh, and that right hip. And now gently put that foot back on the floor. And now I invite you to take your attention over to your left foot, because some of you may have a left foot that says, what about me? It's my turn now. And this time, leave your heel on the floor and bring your toes up in the air. And simply move those toes from right to left, across the air, as if they too have become a windshield wiper. Just simply moving back and forth. And so now I invite you to put both feet back on the floor and simply notice what's happened. Maybe your feet have come more into balance. Perhaps the one that was light is now heavy, and the heavier one has become much lighter. With curiosity, we can begin to hear our bodies tell the truth and begin to notice their language, which is metaphor. I'm curious. Is your left foot saying, hey, what's left to do? Or what do I want? What wants to be left behind? Does your right foot in this moment feel like it's right on the edge, kind of like where you are in your life right now? Or perhaps you're in a place in your life where you're asking, what is the right thing to do? Or in a place where you're saying to someone else, I'm right. When we begin to listen to the body and begin to understand its metaphoric messages, there's a great deal of guidance in our life. So taking a little snapshot of your feet and just noticing how you're feeling in this moment, and maybe even noticing what's happened to your stress level. For some of you, this may be such a different experience, your stress level has gone up. For others of you, coming down into your body, feeling your feet connecting with the floor, that number may be moving down a few numbers. Once again, remember, in this experiential process, you can't get this wrong. So now in this moment, I invite you to exhale and very gently breathe in through your nose, noticing the temperature of the air, and breathe out through your nose, noticing the temperature of the air. And do this for 3 more sets. In, out. And the purpose of breathing this way is to get out of our head and in to our body. And now we're going to deeply listen and safely feel with the somatic grief release. The first thing we're going to do is scan our body and simply notice, is there a place in your body that's calling for attention? It could be an ache, a pain, a pinchiness, a sensation, extra energy, or even heaviness. in one part of your body. Now that you've stopped to deeply listen. And now I'm going to invite you to bring your hands up in front of your body and rub them back and forth as if you're ready to start a fire. Keeping your eyes closed, just notice what's happening in your hands. And now pause and bring your hands apart, noticing if there is still a sensation that you can feel between them. And move them out as far as you can until the sensation is gone. And now gently bring them back together again. And as palms are touching palms, you're now touching the biggest organ in your body, the skin. And now I'm going to invite you to rub your hands together once again. And pause and check in with that place in your body that was calling for attention. Maybe it's changed just a little bit, or maybe it's gotten an even louder voice in this moment. Quietly ask that part of your body if you may touch it with your hand. And if that part gives you permission, I invite you now to float your hand to that part of your body that's calling for attention. My hand just floated to my left shoulder. Now, over time, this could become tiresome for my right shoulder and my arm. So what I know and what I'm giving you permission to do, that if this position, this contact, the actual contact of your hand with this part of your body becomes uncomfortable, simply release that hand and float it down into your lap. The sensation of contact will still be there. So in this moment, what you've done is you've recognized that place in your body that's calling for attention. And now what we're going to do is relate to that part of your body. So simply notice how your hand is contacting this part. And notice what's happening under your hand. And if your body said, no, I don't want your hand there, simply notice now what's happening in this part of your body. Is there a temperature there? Or perhaps a texture? Maybe there's a heaviness or a lightness in this part of your body. Maybe there's something as obvious as a stabbing sensation. Simply begin to relate deeper and notice if a color is coming up in this moment. And now, do you see an image? Do you hear a sound or a word? How big is this now? And simply keeping your attention there, if you're one of those people for whom images and sensations are simply not something that happens to you. And what you're seeing right now is darkness or nothingness. That's important too. Some people might see a stone that's rough or smooth and feel its heaviness. So stay with this. And now I invite you to ask this part of your body, do you have a message for me? And the first thing that comes up is the truth. Don't fight with it. Just notice if there is a message. And taking that in, allow yourself, if you choose, to respond. And begin a dialogue with this part of your body. That part that is rarely conscious. So now I invite you to float your hand down and check in with that part again. What has happened to the intensity of that part of your body that called for attention? As an ache, as a pain, as a sensation. For many of us, it will have released completely and shifted. For others, not so much. So I invite you now to notice what just happened as you recognized this ache or pain in your body, related to it, and then perhaps experienced a release. And so now I'm going to invite you to open your eyes and return to the room. And at this point, we were going to move into breakout room, but we're not. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to invite you to write in the chat what your experience of this was by doing just 3 simple words. First of all, where was the place in your body that was calling for attention, shoulder, back, whatever? And did this part have a message? And you do not need to share the message. So that would be yes, message, or no. So you're going to share the part, yes or no, and then the word release or no release. So if you'll go into the chat now, please, and write what part of my body, yes, back of my head, Teresa says, no message, and there was a release. Isn't that interesting? Okay. So Rana, thank you. Left lower back, the message was fear and there was a release. Thank you. The body tells the truth. It wants you to listen to it. Amelia, shoulder, no message, and release. And then we have Darlene, pancreas. The message was stop, and the release did not happen. And Victoria, your right calf, it said stand up, and I certainly hope you listened and did just that. And there was a relief. And then Anne, your right back shoulder, no image, but a relief. And then Peg, non-defined space. Yes, the message is all is well. And Dale, thank you. Low back, no message, but yes to relief. And Janine, your heart. And Cherie or Terry, chest, yes, and relief. And Janine, help. Isn't it interesting? The message our body will give us. And Magwangi, I'm sorry, I know I probably didn't say your name right. Left shoulder blade, oh, me too. Yes, there was a message for mine. It said water and no relief. And we've got right shoulder, no relief and more comfort. Oh, wow. Nasal passage. Ron, that's really a new one for me. I haven't come across that. So as you can see, what happened in a very, very short amount of time, your deep listening allowed your body to give you a message. Well, where did this method come from? In 1998, I began my training as a Rubenfeld synergist. And it is a method that uses talk and touch. So practitioners like myself facilitate clients to become aware, to deeply listen to the state, the images, the messages, and the metaphors of the body. This profound process was created by Alana Rubenfeld in the mid-60s, and it employs her genius and the Alexander Feldenkrais and Gestalt training that she did. Alana studied directly with Moshe Feldenkrais and Fritz and Laura Perls. And actually, the Rubenfeld Synergy Method was birthed at Esalen Institute when Fritz said to Alana, come up here and join me in the circle. Put your hands on this person while I've got them in the hot seat. And that's exactly what Alana did. She listened with her whole body as an instrument, just like you were listening to yourselves earlier. Alana then intuitively began touching those tight places. And as she was feeling with her hands, she could feel not only the pain in the body, but the emotional pain as well. Originally, Alana was studying to become a conductor at the Juilliard School of Music. Well, now it was very difficult to be admitted as a woman in the 1950s to conducting school at Juilliard. And she had a lot of pressure because Alana was the kind of person that if she did something, it was done very, very well. Failure was not in her vocabulary. Well, Alana developed debilitating back spasms during her preparation for her very first concert. And you can imagine, barely able to lift her arms and hands, she was in deep trouble as a conductor. So she sought the healing hands of Judith Leibowitz, an Alexander practitioner. And Alana tells the story of laying fully clothed on her back on Judith's massage table. And Judith put her hands on Alana's head very gently. And Alana began to cry. Something in her was released by this safe, gentle touch. And when she finished the session, she reported feeling, oh, so much taller and lighter. And when her friend said, well, what happened that you feel this way? Alana reported, I don't know. And it was at that time she began to create a list of ahas. And aha number 4 is, to have an experience, you don't have to know the reason why. Obviously, many of you had an experience in those few short minutes that we were together today. You didn't have to know the reason why. Your body tells the truth. Its language is metaphor, and the body is the sanctuary of the soul. So the secret sauce of Rubenfeld energy is that clients begin to listen deeply beyond their minds and connect with that inner guidance, because the neocortex quiets. The limbic brain then allows the listener to access the emotions and their guidance and begin to feel where those emotions live in the body. And in this deeply relaxed state, the client hears the wisdom of their body, just like you did. Look at the messages that you got. And then the client may begin to connect to the images, the metaphors, and the messages like you did. So your own feedback of that self-touch encourages you to listen deeply, to perhaps experience clarity and confidence, and yes, allowing your consciousness to grow. And when this happens, the fear dissipates. Hopefully, many of you began to feel some certainty that's so essential now in these uncertain times that we're all in. So instead of living from your egoic, critical mind now, I invite you to take these processes into your day. The next time you go out on a beautiful spring day like this, stop. Notice your feet. And as you take your attention rather to your feet, just notice, is there one foot that feels larger, lighter, bigger, heavier? And you can easily come up on your toes and remember the windshield wiper of the heel, or put the heel down, and when your balance is really good, I don't want anybody falling on me, move those toes back and forth. There are a lot of people out there right now that are teaching mind-body awareness. And I'm so grateful for that, because the body tells the truth. Awareness is the first key to change. Change happens only in the present moment. The body is the sanctuary of the soul. And so if we had gone into the breakout room as we were going to share with one another, it would be interesting for you to talk about more of what happened so we could explore the metaphors. But right now, I believe Heather is going to lead us in a song and another process that can get every cell in our body vibrating at a higher level of consciousness. So Heather, thank you. And we'll answer questions later.
Thank you so much, Georgena. That's great. I always love doing that process because it's so visceral, which is the point. And always there's a bit of a surprise as far as, well, that did change. Well, it's interesting. Or it's interesting that that body part is what was asking for some TLC. I would like to have everyone just quietly or loudly, actually everybody's on mute except for me, at whatever volume, to simply begin humming. Just a little, it doesn't have to be a melody, it doesn't have to be a song, it can be a melody, it can be a song, but just start bringing that humming vibration into the body. And we're just going to hum a little bit. And as you're humming along, similar to what Georgena was asking us to do, just tap into where's that vibration really apparent to your consciousness in your body? Is it just in your chest? Does it travel up and down your legs? Does it move into your head? Back down again? What kind of movement it has, and how does that feel as it's moving or staying put in that particular spot? I'm just going to give it a minute or so to just feel that. And now change this humming, change the pitch. In other words, if you were humming, I'm assuming you can all hear that. It's coming through. Now just change the pitch. And basically we're changing the tonal quality, change it to whatever difference you are called to make that. And it could be jerky. It could also be more guttural. Just make a shift in the tonal quality of that hum within you. And again, yep, Georgena is great. You know, if the body's calling to be putting some movement to that, fabulous. And again, note where in your body that sound is traveling. And if it has movement, is it staying put? Is it cycling through a particular pathway in your body? And we'll give that just a little bit to move around and shake things up a bit. And just let that sound freely move and express itself with the breath, the movement, the tone. Now, quiet. Now that there is no sound within your body, what's the difference? How does it feel different in your body from when you had this beautiful humming sound traveling, vibrating, moving through your limbs, your chest, your head? And you can pop that into the chat. You can also certainly just kind of take a note for yourself. But again, it's noting the difference. And we didn't do a check-in before we started this portion with the sound, but I'm going to bet that there's a difference in how you feel in your body, and maybe even in your mood or your energy level. And just, again, take note of what's different. And this, of course, isn't a quiz, and you're not required to write anything in the chat. The biggest thing is simply that noticing, that awareness, where it all begins and starts from. And actually, I'm going to correct that, because where it actually starts is in the stillness. Because we all stopped sitting in our chairs, standing. We all stopped, to be here in this beautiful gathering together, but also stopped to, beautiful, Rana, love it. Rana says, I now understand why cats purr. Fabulous. Yes. And that's such a healing modality for them. That's a primary. So taking it to, we're stopped, we're focused, our attention is here. And then we pulled that attention inside ourselves, not only with having the sound, but then paying attention to, is that moving? Is that, what's that doing to the rest of my body? Is it staying within my chest? Is it in my head? How do I feel now? Of course, our mind chatter is going, I'm sure, a lot faster than that. But beginning it by doing the stopping, doing something like the sound to make a change and affect the energetic change, and then the noticing. And then the beauty of, now it's really different, that there is no sound that I'm making. And in those, that wasn't even 2 minutes. And notice how much happened. That's huge. So in 2 minus my talking, 2 minutes maybe, or even a minute and a half, how we can shift our awareness and also our attention and our energy. And I can tell you that we also have huge healing benefits, as do the cats with their purring, huge healing benefits from making sound with our voice, whether it's humming or singing. It's a magnificent healing tool to not only bring awareness to ourselves and listen to what the body is trying to tell us, because it's always talking and it's always got messages for us if we but stop, tune in, and listen. But also to have the huge healing benefits of lowering our blood pressure, lowering our heart rate, depending on the type of sound you're making and with what space you're in, both within yourself and externally. It has the power to absolutely uplift our energy. And the beauty of bringing us into greater awareness of ourselves and the space around us. It also helps us have the opportunity to create deeper breathing. Because as we're making sound, we need air to make sound. And as a singer, who's a singer? Who else is a singer here? I'm sure there's many singers. Don't have to be professional, of course. But the power of singing does not come from our throat, does not come from this part of our body. The power of singing, as far as how can you belt something out, yes, Mwangi, the shower counts. Absolutely. Singing anywhere counts. The power of, i.e., the energy behind singing is in our belly with our breathing. And for anyone who maybe has studied voice and so on, it's not about like training the throat. The core beginning is you start with the breath. Breath is life. It's our first necessary element to be here. And the difference between if I begin to sing and I sing from my throat, I didn't take any breath. I just started singing to I could keep going. That's on one breath. That's one breath. So the power of the breath, stopping, and so having these healing benefits of producing that frequency, that vibration in our bodies is key. Because can anyone think of anything that is not frequency? Everything is frequency. Whether it's the lamp that's in front of the painting on Norma's wall, or the park bench, the tree rounds in the area where Mwangi was showing up in the beginning of our meeting, to the tables that we're sitting at, the chairs, all of it, the plants, everything is frequency. Everything is vibration. Could maybe be extrapolated to frequency is chi. Frequency is the life force. Now what I like to do is have everyone join me in what I term as a chantra. And a chant, as you might guess, a chantra, simply the combo of a chant and a mantra. So it's meant to be repeated to help us affect some of these changes that might be desirable for us, such as calming our spirits, lessening anxiety, improving our breathing, lowering our heart rate, i.e., maybe chilling out a little bit and de-stressing. So these chantras are the most common song or type of music, if you will, that come to me for use with not only for myself, but also with clients, and to share with all of you. And the one that I would like to teach you is very simple. It's 3 words. I remember you. And this chantra came as a result of wanting to create a song, very easy to learn, easy to sing. And it was in particular for a memorial ceremony that I helped co-create and lead several years ago. And I'll tell you the story of the power of this chantra after we do this next little ditty. So I'll sing it once, and if anybody wants to just kind of start kicking in, great. The important reminder about singing is that, and this is you singing, everybody singing, is that it's not choir practice. This is not having perfect pitch. It's not about being that great soprano. Fine if you are, terrific. It's about making sound. It's about having that frequency boost in our system by making sound, bringing that frequency up through our bodies and our beings, and of course, out into the world. And you might say, it's like, oh, nobody wants to hear me sing. But who cares? This is about you, and you can sing anywhere, in the car, in the shower, as you're doing dishes, whatever. And it doesn't even have to be a sensical song. It can be, but the power and essence of moving that frequency in our bodies and then bringing it out. So here's the chantra. It goes like this. I remember you, I remember you, I remember you. I remember you, I remember you, I remember you. That's it. Okay, so we'll do it together, and everybody has to sing. Everybody has to sing. I remember you, I remember you, I remember you. I remember you, I remember you, I remember you. I remember you, I remember you, I remember you. I remember you, I remember you, I remember you. Deep breath. Let it out. Now I would love to have you come into the chat and say, how did that feel? Was it different than the hum? How was it? Did it show? Norma says thumbs up. Great. But just again, noting that difference. It was flow. Beautiful, Rana. Love it. So this is what happened. Liked it better than a hum from Billy. And interesting, what was the quality of the song, the chantra, that felt better maybe in your body? Lovely, Ron. Was it the words? Was it that there was order to it? And this sharing in the chat, honestly, is more for each of us, not so much for the group or for Georgena and myself, although we love having the input, but when we put something into words, makes it real. It forces us to kind of quantify it in some way. So just look at the chat as kind of your own little personal journal. Yeah, just taking the time and the effort. Great. Thank you, everybody, for sharing and for participating. Yay. This chantra is, as are all of mine that I've made videos for, these are available for you on my YouTube channel. So we'll get to that part at the end, but you can, and I invite you to utilize them because they're so helpful. So the power, I wanted to do this because not only bringing that awareness to how is that sound moving? How is that maybe changing in my body? to the physiological differences of deeper breathing, lowered heart rate, lower blood pressure, boosted energy, boosted mood. Music changes us, but singing heals us. There's a difference. It's that hairline difference, but there's a difference. Music is, in many ways, it's passive. We're listening. Of course, unless we're actually performing the music, then that's a different story. But with singing, we're using our body and our voice. And it is the most powerful thing that we can do in the world. And I'm not saying that as a singer, I am saying that as the level of high frequency that singing brings through our bodies and then brings out into the world. And again, on key, off key does not matter. And I'm going to read this little quote from The Mozart Effect. It's a fabulous book by Dawn Campbell, The Mozart Effect, Tapping the Power of Music to Heal the Body, Strengthen the Mind, and Unlock the Creative Spirit. I can put a link to this in the chat for reference. But I especially want anyone who has that timidity, and rightly so, of, oh gosh, you please don't you sing. You're in grade school or what have you, and the teacher or the choir director or whomever hears you sing. It's like, oh, okay, no, Brenda, we're going to have you work on props or something for our production. And those wounds are so stinking deep in us that it has silenced so many beautiful voices and has quieted and disabled so much healing that it's just, it breaks my heart. So this little piece from The Mozart Effect I want to share with you is, even people who can't sing can benefit hugely from doing so. And I say can't sing or untuned in large quotation marks. In a study of untuned singers, researcher Marvin Greenberg identified 10 elementary school students, all males, who could not sing in tune or match pitch, and made arrangements for them to join an elite school chorus. After 11 weeks of rehearsals, so not even 3 months, the boys' self-esteem and self-image improved, even though they continued to sing off-key. What? I'm going to repeat that last line. The boys' self-esteem and self-image improved, even though they continued to sing off-key. I rest my case. So there are no wrong notes, right on. Music is powerful. Music changes us. Singing heals us. And I believe that in even hearing the voice, hearing the sung voice, that is also very healing. One of my, and I haven't forgotten to tell you the story about that chantra. One of the offerings I have are singing love grams. And these are, I have them for special occasions like happy birthday, especially during the COVID times, just not so long ago. when we were so darn cut off from one another, especially from visiting family and so on, and longing for connection, longing to have ways of expression that were so limited. And so I created these singing lovegrams to be able to share and connect people, their beloveds, by delivering these singing lovegrams with a phone call. And one very recent example was actually a friend of mine and dear colleague. It was her birthday, and her beloved auntie requested that I do a happy birthday singing lovegram for her. And as the auntie and I spoke on the phone setting this up, she said, you know what? Actually, she goes, I would like for her to get a singing lovegram every day for a week. And boy, was that fun for me. Really, really cool. And about midway in the week, after I reached her live during this particular singing lovegram delivery, and she said, oh my gosh, Heather, that just completely turned my day around. Right before you called, I was just off of an extremely intense phone call with a client. And we had umpteen subjects that we were discussing, and she's an end-of-life doula, and you can imagine that the intensity with a lot of emotion was indeed quite high. And she said, hearing you do this particular lovegram, it got me grounded, centered, and to where she was able to just shift her day. So that's not a plug for me as much as it is for the music. It's the music. And I just want to close with the story about the chantra that we all did, I Remember You. And that is, as I said, I was blessed and honored to be able to do a memorial ceremony for a gentleman whose family was totally divided into factions. It was this side, that side, to the point that when we gathered for the memorial, it was in a funeral home chapel, and they had the requisite 2 groups of pews, right, with the aisle down the middle. And I kid you not, one family faction filled up one side, the other family faction filled up the other side of the pews, to where it was definitive. And in the midst of the ceremony, somewhat close to the end, I began singing I Remember You, singing that chantra. And I did it a couple of times. And then I said, and now it's your turn, because we're all going to join in and sing this chantra. And you can feel at people's breath just go, oh no, I don't want to sing. Especially don't want them to hear me sing. And well, as it flowed out, by the end of not necessarily the first couple of run-throughs, but as I invited them to offer a different verb than remember, so like, I am hugging you, so we would sing that. I think we had maybe 4 different verbs ultimately that we did. By the end of singing together, I did not see anybody in the entire room not singing. And to have that shared experience at such a divisive, with how they set it up, tumultuous, emotional time, to have every single person there united in one song, word by word, note by note, I'm goosebumped right now, totally just telling you. It was so powerful. And I heard people say afterwards at the reception, wow, I really believe some healing happened here today. There is the healing power of music. My friends, please, please sing. And thank you so much for your presence and for your participation.
Georgena, anything else?
Well, I'm very curious if we have any questions from anyone. We'd be more than happy to have people ask those in person and answer them.
I'm wondering if Heather, do you have a published music like a CD or anything like that?
I do not. I use my YouTube channel a lot for that to, send a link to either my music playlist or, individual songs that that's frequently what happens. For example, a dear friend just had breast cancer surgery Friday. And as part of my love and support message to her, I sent her a link to one of my, not one of mine, but actually a song that I do. That's a healing song. So thank you for asking, Janine. So no is the answer to physical something or downloadable, but they're all there for full access on my YouTube channel.
What is your YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Yes, let me put that in the chat.
And I would love to be notified if or when you create an singing audiobook.
Aha, love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that description, Janine.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I don't know if you saw that I wrote in the chat that Divine Grace Angels several years ago kept repeating that it's the human voice that's going to lift the veil of fear off this planet.
Ooh,
Mhm.
I did not see that. I will see that because the chat's recorded, right, Teresa?
Yep.
Yay. So I will get that. Magnificent.
Mhm.
And so what we'd like each of you to invite you to do is put in the chat what you're leaving with today. And Heather and I each have a gift for you. Mine is a 1-minute energizer, and she has something too. And Teresa will, I don't know how those are going to be delivered, Teresa.
Well, you can do it two ways. One is for you to just put the link in the chat box, and then as people want, they can click on it and save it and play it later. That would be easy, right? By the way, I have listened to Georgena's 1 minute, and it's really fantastic. So you want to get a copy, or the link, I should say. Anyway, so there's Heather's.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing my music playlist.
And there's a question in the chat from Victoria Cleaver. Thank you so much, Victoria. It reads, I have tried asking a place in my back that often wants to be rubbed. And that's important because the back has so many metaphors. Who or what do I need to get off my back? What's back for me to look at again? Oh, you're back. I forgive you for coming back, and I release you to love. So right there are 3 different things, Victoria, that might or might not work. And then that sense of lightheadedness and dizziness for messages. I'm not sure on that. When we asked today if there was a message, did you become lightheaded?
No,
Okay. Okay.
no, it just
All right.
happens occasionally, but it's just like, what is this?
The lightheadedness.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Well, on one of those, my suggestion would be, have you checked in with your doctor lately? Sometimes
Yes.
lightheadedness
Yes.
can be, okay,
Well, I'm going to check, but I don't.
good. Please do, because it can be an indication of blood pressure being high. I know that for sure. Okay. And then there again, if you feel that lightheadedness and it's not related to something physical, then that's where you can do the grounding. That's where you can bring yourself down to your feet and notice what's happening in your feet, and then breathe all the way up from your feet, imagining then that that breath is enfolding your head, and then have it go back down to your feet. So it's like a waterfall, comes up from your feet. Maybe I've had people have it come up the back and then down the front of their body with their breath. So give it a whirl. And you've got my email, so we can talk some more.
Okay,
Thank you
good.
for your
Thank you.
question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Could you just quickly say the last two things about the back? You said, get off my back.
Yes,
Oh.
or what's back for me to look at,
Oh,
or who or what is on my back, or what is back for me to look at. And then the last one was kind of a forgiveness mantra. It's, oh, you're back. I forgive you for coming back again. And I release you to love.
okay. Thank you.
Sometimes when we simply welcome, then things shift instead of resist, because we all know what we resist persists. So sometimes all we have to do is do that. I recognize, relate, and release. And that's what I just gave you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you asked. So, Teresa,
Yes.
it looks like we're coming to the end of this. And I know Heather has a song, but anything else?
Yes. One last thing. I was trying to let me go back to full screen here on my side. Trying to copy the bit.ly that Heather put in. And Heather, is it just bit.ly the vowel cleanse? That's how much you would copy. Am I right?
Yeah, that whole bit that I did there. So it's, yeah, the bit.ly/ the vowel cleanse.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
that's it. Yep.
Okay, so does everybody understand that they just copy that and then paste it into an open window and it'll open it up? Just want to make sure everybody know how to get to that. And somebody's asking for your link, Georgena. We'll talk
I'm
about.
copying it right now to put it in the
Okay.
chat.
All right.
Okay, perfect.
And
So
then
here it
Janine
is.
put her link in Purple Crows. purplecrowsings.com is where you can access her work. I really want to do the vowel cleanse, so I can't wait to try that. I had to go down to visit a family member over the weekend. I had 4 hours in my car down and back. And well, I spent some of my time listening to talks. I have a way to just put on music that I like. And so I was noticing how much more fun it was to just sing along with my favorite songs.
Yay.
It really raised my mood up a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you're outputting as opposed to putting more stuff in.
Yes, right, exactly. It was way better for me.
So I hope this link works for people, Teresa.
Okay, let me see, should. Where's
It's the
your-
one I sent you.
You sent it to me?
It's what I sent the other day. That was
Oh.
the
Can
1
you
minute energizer, blooming like a sunflower.
Yeah, and can you go ahead and put that in the chat? 'Cause
I
haven't seen-
did. I just put, oh, I haven't sent it. There we go.
Aha,
There we
it is.
go.
Okay, everybody, that is a great 1 minute little, kind of a meditation, but it's very helpful. So definitely before you leave, copy and paste that into your browser so you can open it up and view it and then save it.
We all need 1 minute energizers at this
Yeah.
point in time.
Yeah,
Raises our vibration.
yeah. So any other questions for either Heather or Georgina? Going to put us
Yes.
back on gallery view here. Lots of thank yous. Everybody really enjoyed it. And thank you to everybody that stayed to the end. I really appreciate that. Everybody's
Yes.
Thank you.
laughing. Thank you. Thank you.
So how about a number from everyone where you're at now after Georgina magic and a little bit of song action? Any changes there for anyone?
So is it still the stress number?
Mhm.
Sure,
Oh,
1 to 10, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, great.
Thank
Progress
you.
has been made, as we always said. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you all for coming on this beautiful spring day.
Thank you all. I did want to mention too, before we all go, that I have the April speaker all lined up. And thank you so much to Ron Thomas. He recommended to me Ray Hernandez, and he was a friend of the person that started IONS, Edgar Mitchell. And anyway, he's an experiencer. He's had contact, and he's put together huge volume of work. He's going to talk a bit about that, and it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be different from some of the things we've done before. So thank you again, Ron.
Would anybody like a closing song?
Oh, sure.
We ready for that?
Love it.
Carry it home to your children. Carry it out in the streets. Carry it on to the ones you love and on to the ones you meet. Carry it light on your shoulders. Carry it deep in your soul. For you have been blessed with magic, and the magic will make us whole. Thank you, everyone. You're muted, Teresa.
Thank you, Georgina. Thank you, Heather, so much. This was really nice. I just loved it.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Good night.
Thank you,
everybody.
Teresa.
Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you. Good night.